I'm Bruce Velez. With both our co-hosts, we got Patrick Billings from Celtics and Patrick Previty from Magic Digest. We got the Patrick Square duo here, boys. How you guys doing?
Pat, how you feeling?
Oh, dude, I'm feeling sick, man. Some may call the Magic dirty, others may call them physical. That was one heck of a game, and just it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the Magic, but hey, game three is always next up. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Celtics are definitely a tough matchup for you guys, and vice versa as well, just because of how well they match up. But I mean, like you said, another tough physical game, but yeah, a fun one for sure. A close game.
100%. A little closer than the last one, and we'll be breaking down all the news revolving around this game and getting into how dominating Jalen Brown was in another performance here for the Boston Celtics. So, boys, let's dive into it as it was a fantastic performance for the Celtics. Unfortunately, not the greatest for the Magic, but we did see come out here tonight was the Celtics getting that lead here versus the Boston Celtics or versus the Orlando Magic 109-100 and getting the victory. We once saw again from the team stats the Celtics shot pretty well with the ball here compared to the Orlando Magic. Looking at some stats, once again, Jalen Brown absolutely fantastic without Jason Tatum. 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists going into takeover mode. I'll swing this over to my co-host on Celtics Digest, Pat. What are your main thoughts from this main takeaway from the Boston Celtics in tonight's contest? One 100%. And we'll get into Porzingis in a little bit as well as we dive into, a little bit of scuffle that he had into it. Patrick from Orlando over there. What were your main takeaways from this game, from looking at it from the Magic perspective, and how the Celtics were able to kind of combat against this Magic defense once again for the second time in a row?
potent, and they could potentially bring the Celtics even further down from where they were in game one. But as you guys have already mentioned, Jalen Brown was unbelievable. He had that Kawhi Leonard esque type of game, type of shooting night. He was a beast. Got to his spots and was just his knee looks just fine. That was super unfortunate. But then there was still a chance, and it was Paolo Banchero, and it does feel like everybody else. It feels like Franz. He just clearly can't shoot right now. There's something going on with his jump shot. Super unfortunate because you just know that when he's playing well, it feels like there's a ticking time bomb essentially for his game where it's just going to blow up and he's going to just feel like he's not even there for a quarter or so. And then the second person scoring, where's that coming from? It did not really show up in this game. Wendell Carter Jr. and Anthony Black had impressive games for what they are relatively capable of and what we've seen this year, but it wasn't enough. The bench scoring just simply isn't there. And then KCP has stolen money from this franchise, and it's very sad to see the $22 million man only had 3 points in this game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main takeaways for this Orlando Magic team. We mentioned this before when we were talking. The shooting has been one of the struggles in the scoring offensively for the Magic and something that they're going to have to use to combat against, a heavy three-point shooting Boston Celtics team with Jason Tatum or minus without him. And unfortunately for KCP, 0 for 6 from three-point range today. That is not going to cut it against a Boston Celtics team. And I think for the Magic here, you kind of mentioned it, they have to have that, next guy kind of come up and help out Paolo and Franz in this scoring department, regardless of who it's going to be in this next contest. I know you previously mentioned Cole Anthony in game one. You thought he would get more minutes and hope he would. Unfortunately, tonight kind of fell victim to that same trap once again of not getting many minutes and only getting one shot attempt with it not falling.
Yeah, he was just He was kind of still awful in those 5 minutes, if I'm just going to be like completely honest. But I did still think he should get some run just because that's a guy who's been a bit of a microwave kind of player for this team all season. But he's been too up and down, and I'm guessing Jamahl Mosley just doesn't trust him, and maybe it's not a good matchup for him against the Celtics. Obviously, great perimeter defenders. I just don't understand though with Corey Joseph and the way that he was playing. It felt like he didn't really have a grasp on everything. And then Anthony Black got those minutes late, and I don't know. Something's got to change in Game 3. That would be my first choice. I did also mention Goga Bitadze should be in the game more. He was in the game more, and he was just causing mayhem, and it didn't really produce in a very positive way on the game. But hey, he was out there.
Yeah,
100%.
I kind of want to touch on something real quick, Bruce. I know you guys talked about it in the last video as well with Cole Anthony. So I kind of try to keep an eye on what he was doing when he finally got on the court. And I still didn't realize why he wasn't getting the minutes he was until I watched those 5 minutes. I think his decision making is pretty bad. Honestly, I think that when he kind of got to some of his shots, they were bad shots, and just those small little mistakes. It just looked like he couldn't get any trust from Mosley at all. So I think that's like the one reason why, because they went with what, Caleb Houston as one of the first guys off the bench tonight, which was a kind of questionable move. I mean, I guess when you need some shooting, that's kind of what he was drafted for. So I was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like a mix. But watching Cole Anthony out there, he didn't seem like he was being as like, confident in his game at all. So I think it's just his decision making. But come Game 3, they really have to make a decision and just see if he picks up his game a little bit.
100%.
Yeah,
Patrick also mentioned Tristan da Silva as well. He did not get many minutes in this game as well. He also did not see any action. I would have liked to see him be another perimeter presence for the Magic offensively as well.
I was surprised that Tristan da Silva didn't get any run. I think Coach Mosley does sort of contribute to some of these confidence issues with some of the players. I think he's a great coach, and throughout this entire year, I mean, through the first part of the year, it was almost like he was a Coach of the Year candidate. When everybody was going down, the Magic were still winning; they weren't in the play-in. But as the season has gone on, I've kind of drifted a little bit away from the feeling that Jamahl Mosley isn't responsible for some of these issues. And I think, unfortunately, Cole Anthony has been in the doghouse before this year, and he's back in. And then for some reason, Jamahl Mosley's not trusting Tristan da Silva, and he's had some really bright moments and good moments late in games. And him not seeing any action is kind of surprising to me, at least with the way that this series has gone. Obviously, rotations are going to get cut down to 8 or 9 guys, but I'm still surprised. But we keep talking, alluding to Game 3. Something's going to change. It has to, especially going back home too. You got to think some of these guys are going to be comfortable. But also the Celtics, just such a talented team, top to bottom, and they have so much more experience too. So it's like I get it. A guy like Cole Anthony's going to get those 5 minutes. He's not going to look very good. I mean, if he's cold and he's going against the Boston Celtics, that's the tallest order essentially in the NBA.
Yeah, I'd agree. And you mentioned some Celtics as well that did pretty solid, not just like the team in general. Al Horford had some pretty big plays. Drew Holiday was solid on both sides. Derek White, once again, coming clutch in the fourth quarter. Patrick brought it up earlier, how Peyton Pritchard was pretty solid off the bench after getting his sixth man of the award. But I want to talk about Goga Bitadze, Pat, because you brought him up earlier, and we saw what Goga Bitadze was doing. He was causing some mayhem on the court, getting involved with Kristaps Porzingis. And me and my friends, I had some people over to watch the game. Obviously, didn't look intentional. Obviously, he looked like he was trying to help Kristaps Porzingis up. So I don't think there's going to be any riots out in the street for no Goga Bitadze here in Boston. But we did see Kristaps Porzingis get into a little bit of an altercation, not an altercation, but into a little bit of a situation where he was bleeding, had to be taken out of the game. It's pretty crazy, guys. Don't you think that this actually happened? He came back, he was still bleeding, had a little bandage on him. He looked a little goofy, but still was able to finish the game, and I'm glad he at least got to play it out for the Celtics.
I don't know about a little bandage. That was a mega bandage on his whole forehead. But yeah, man, he was able to come out. He loves his little entrances that he gets with the Celtics too. I mean, he was having a lot of fun this game. We saw when he was out to the crowd, down on the baseline, dapping everyone up, smiling. I mean, he's just happy to be out there, to be honest. He's like a little kid in a candy shop. But he did come out firing today if we're talking Kristaps Porzingis. He was definitely needed after last game. And this is a guy that I thought was going to be an MVP of the series, Bruce. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see him kind of get hot and kind of find his touchdown low and just get to his spots like we said Jalen Brown was doing. What those two need to do, cookies and cream. They got the great connection, and that's just what they do to get their buckets.
100%, I agree. They got to run that duo continuously, especially without Jason Tatum.
Mhm.
We talked about that in after game one because KCP or not KCP, excuse me. Whoa, Kristaps. Did yeah, no, I don't want last mention of him for today. Kristaps didn't play all that well in game one, and we were saying how there was maybe a potential matchup thing that was going on. He took advantage of it all night. I mean, certainly he was getting to the free throw line, especially early, but then after that Bataze, elbow came down. It knocked him into this playoff moment that Porzingis was just destined to have again for his career. So that was actually pretty cool to see. I personally, as you mentioned earlier, it didn't look intentional, and that there was so much contact under the basket this entire game, especially in the first half. And I don't know if that was an extension of the first game, but it didn't look intentional. Maybe even like just in general, I understand, players just kind of fighting, trying to get position. I think that was really just all it was, but certainly kind of lit a fire that is, in this Boston Celtics team.
100%. And
That's twice though. That's twice.
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
Said the
I
last
don't
time we
know
bring
if
him up, but
yeah, I
oh,
don't know if
see.
I don't know if I see the KCP one or the Bataze one being like either of them being intentional,
yeah,
but
Mhm.
you know, I
it's
get it.
definitely.
I'm not mad at the flagrant calls. Like I think that it
Yeah.
makes sense. It's like
Mhm.
it's okay. They're gonna call it like that if a player's in the air. They're trying to protect the player, and then at the same time, I mean, KCP was or oh my God, Kristaps Porzingis down on the floor like bleeding. Like that was obvious that was going to be called a flagrant. Like you just knew it. But I don't know if either one um were intentional. But hey, the Magic, bro, dirty or physical, it's up to you.
It's definitely the Magic are physical, the Celtics are physical. Both love playing hard defense. They both want to show out on that side of the floor, and they both bring that energy and passion as well, which you can clearly see from both franchises. So they get into those little scraps. You saw it earlier in this game as well with Horford and KCP, where Jalen Brown kind of got in a little bit of the scuffle and they had to be separated as well. But it's all fun and games. Obviously, the intensity is turned up for the playoffs. One last question before we have to go. Patrick, obviously, we're going back to Orlando. The Celtics are up 2-0 in this series. So you mentioned the Magic need to make some changes kind of going into this game. What would you say is the key change the Magic really need to kind of spark up to either get a win in Orlando to avoid a sweep or to potentially change the course for them in this series?
So I don't know if they're going to change the starting lineup just simply because Jamahl Mosley seems like he's dead set on having KCP in the starting lineup with Wendell Carter Jr. at the 5 and Corey Joseph starting. That was my prediction, was he was going to switch it up from games 1 to game 2. I guess he's not going to change, but I definitely think going home, just giving these other players a shot. If we know that Cole Anthony can be that spark, can score off the bench, well, let's throw him out there because there's no reason why this team should have like 65 points in the middle of, or I think actually it was like 55 points in the middle of the third quarter. Like there has to be something like that, calling on one of those guys. Maybe it's a young guy. Maybe it's throwing out Jet Howard instead of Caleb Houston. Somebody who can knock down shots. Give him a chance. And then also, I think Paolo Banchero, take his under on assists because there's no shot. I think he's passing up anything with his back against the wall.
I
Yeah,
agree. I
I
think
want
that's
to
the
touch on
smart.
that too. Funny enough, you bring up Jed Howard, totally mixed him and Caleb Houston up. That's crazy. But I think that if they do make a change, I mean, what do you think of the change of maybe Anthony Black getting in instead of Corey Joseph? Because he did play some point guard down in Arkansas. So I mean, he's definitely capable of handling the ball and running a little bit of the offense, but it gives him a little bit more length, especially with Drew Holiday and Derek White being able to get those stocks, especially at the guard position. So I think that could be an interesting move as well.
Yeah, I would hope that Anthony Black or Cole Anthony takes over that starting point guard role. I'm cool with Anthony Black. I think he's ready. Second year guy. Like there's no reason to just not try something like that. It could be the nail in the coffin if Jamahl Mosley doesn't adjust enough and the Magic gets swept. There's going to be some real talks because there's no reason why they shouldn't just try everything, give everything a go.
Agreed.
I would agree with that. And I think that the time will tell with this series. I do think still that the Magic have the scrappiness in them to still steal a game versus the Celtics team. These games have been close for the most part throughout this series. Maybe that second half where in game one wasn't as close, but I'm excited for this series to continue. Once again, Jason Tatum will have to see what he will be doing for game three. He was obviously out for game two, but with Jaylen Brown taking control with this Celtics team alongside Kristaps Porzingis, I think we're pretty confident with this series. But once again, thank you to Patrick for hopping on Celtics Digest and doing this little duo video, prepping it and getting into all this series breakdown. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. We'll be signing off, but have a great rest of your night and go Celtics and Magic. Peace out, everyone.